This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Buzzard Roost Saddles. Buzzard Roost Saddles was born in the swamps of Santa Maria, South Louisiana, and their purpose is to get you standing over your next carcass so you can pick them clean. Proudly made in the USA, every Buzzard Roost saddle is handcrafted with a patent-pending system that brings you independent angle adjustments on your top and bottom panels to provide ultimate comfort. Standing by their motto, "We ain't fancy," Buzzard Roost helps you get the job done without making things overcomplicated. If you're looking for the next tool in your hunting arsenal, you can connect with Buzzard Roost Saddles on Facebook and Instagram, or you can visit their website at buzzardroostsaddles.com. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Hunt the Wild podcast. I'm your host, Adam Bowlds. Today, I'm joined with Matt Taylor of Next Ridge Apparel. How you doing, Matt?
Good. How are you, Adam?
Good. Can't complain. Thursday, almost Friday, almost time for the weekend. I'm going to have you introduce and tell a little bit about yourself and kind of how you got started in hunting in the outdoors.
Okay. My name is Matt Taylor. Owner of Next Ridge Apparel. I got my hunting license when I was 11, and I started upland bird hunting pretty much my whole life. And then it wasn't until early 2000s that I got into big game hunting. Started hunting local deer out here in California. I'm born and raised in California, a native here. So there's quite a bit of hunting out here. So I've just been hunting big game for the last about 20 years.
Yeah, you're the first guy or the first guest that I've had on from California. So I'm kind of interested to hear about California. I've heard a lot of weird things about California. I don't know, not totally hunting related, but I've just heard stories and rumors about what it's like in California. So maybe we'll get into some of that and you can answer some of those questions. But kind of talk about Next Ridge Apparel and kind of how you got involved with that. Is that something you guys started or something that you guys bought into or were partners with? Just kind of tell us a story and a little background on Next Ridge Apparel.
So Next Ridge Apparel was established in 2016 by our good friends Sean and June Murray. Me and Sean worked together on a line crew. I'm a journeyman lineman, and they started that in 16. And we were big advocate supporters for them, and we loved the brand. And then they came to us in the middle of 2021 and asked us if we were interested in buying them out because they had moved from California to Montana, like most of the same people, and their lives got busy, and the brand was starting to suffer, and they weren't paying it the attention they felt it deserved. So we were who came to mind. So they offered it to my wife, Tracie, and I, and after crunching numbers and trying to figure out how it worked out, we purchased it in September of 2021, the day before we left for a 3-week elk hunt.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's a handful then, isn't it?
Yeah, we were busy.
Yeah. So what kind of do you guys do? Hats and shirts and hoodies and that kind of stuff, or what all do you guys kind of deal in?
Yeah. So the thought behind Next Ridge was to have casual clothing for the hunters, because at the time, 6 years ago, you couldn't find quality casual clothes for hunters that wasn't in camo. So that's what he started that for. So we carry hats, t-shirts, sweatshirts. We've got, of course, stickers and then a few other items here and there. We have expanded the women's line, so there's actual clothing for women too. So that's pretty much it right now.
Cool. I'm glad you actually touched on the women thing, because I kind of wanted to bring you on here. We're going to dive into some stuff about California hunting here later, but you had mentioned to me when we talked that you spend a lot of time with your wife hunting. So I thought maybe you'd be a good guy to talk to about maybe getting your spouse. I would generally think it's a man taking his wife hunting for the most part, but maybe there are some women that maybe grew up doing it and their husbands didn't, and it could go vice versa. But kind of talk about how you got your wife involved in hunting and maybe the first time she went with you. Was that after you were married or while you were dating? Kind of just lay it all out for us.
So we got married in 2020, or sorry, 2000. And she grew up in a hunting family. Her dad went deer hunting and was always a hunter, but he never took her. So she was brought up in the typical household at the time that, you know, guys went hunting, girls did the cooking. And she
Mhm.
always wanted to go, but her dad kind of just put her brother in front of her and kind of left her on the back burner. And then in probably 2006, 7, 8, maybe, she decided that she wanted to go hunting. And so she went out, got a hunter safety certificate on her own, bought her own guns. We were married, but she bought her own guns. And she said, Dad, you're taking me hunting. And she actually hunted with her dad before she hunted with me.
Huh.
Um, so, and then that year, because I'd already had plans with hunting with other buddies, yeah, opening weekend and rifle season, she was hunting with her dad. And then from that point on, she's my hunting partner. I mean, we hunt all over California. We've hunted Colorado. We've hunted Arizona. So I didn't get her into anything. She just basically said, this is what she's doing. And now she's my hunting partner. And it's great.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. We complement each other well. She understands how I think and I know how she thinks. So for the most part, when it comes to hunting, anything else, no. But no, we're a good team.
Yeah, that kind of just in general when you're hunting with people, it's something that I've experienced too. There's certain people that you go hunting with that kind of know your next move and kind of know what's in your
Uh-huh.
head, and then there's other people that you go hunting with and you're like, "What the hell are you doing, man?" Like, I don't know.
Uh-huh.
It is always good to have a person that just clicks well, with you as a hunting partner, and being your wife, I'm sure that's a plus. So, um, what would be some of the I guess the pros and cons of hunting with your wife? They may be touchy, I don't know, but we'll dive into it.
No, the biggest con that I have is it gets twice as expensive.
Mhm.
Honestly, that's the biggest con. Um, I get to go hunting more because she's hunting with me, so that's a plus. There's none of this, hey, honey, you got to do the chores before you go do this. No, because we're getting the chores done together, getting everything done because we live on 20 acres here in California, so we've got horses and cattle. We got stuff we got to take care of here, and then we can go hunt together. So I get more opportunity to hunt because she's my hunting partner, but it's twice as expensive.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
my wife hunts too, so I totally get that. It's double the tree stands and double the licenses and double the, whatever it is. You got to have two of each thing, and it can add up
yeah.
super fast. What about the pros?
The pros, well, I mean, we get along pretty well. I mean, we're gonna have our bickering and our fighting and arguing because that's what married couples do. But when we're hunting, typically we don't have that. So it's nice that we can get out, we can enjoy the outdoors together. We spend as much time outdoors as we possibly can. If it's not hunting, it's backpacking or backpack fishing or camping, or we got horses, we do ranch rodeos. So we're always outside doing something together, which is great. Like we've been married for 22 years. So, I mean, shoot, she's had everything she can have with me. So we don't have, we don't, when we're outside, when we're outdoors, we usually don't fight because we're where we want to be.
Yeah.
So to me, that's the biggest plus right there is that we get to actually enjoy being outside and we're not worrying about what's going to happen when we get home. We're not worried about we got to do this or got to do that. We're just doing it together.
Yeah, it's nice to just kind of leave it all behind and just kind of live in the moment when you're in the woods. I feel like a lot of people, that's the whole reason why they go hunting, is just so they can kind of forget everything for a few hours or a few days, and uh and just kind of enjoy nature. Um
Yeah.
is there any specific needs or wants, I guess, whether it be um emotionally, or I guess like physically, like gear or something, that you found that hunting with a woman or hunting with your wife uh tends to need more? Like, do women need more gear? Do they need to be like, are they more sentimental towards like the animals and stuff like that. Is there anything different kind of that you've noticed when hunting with a woman compared to maybe hunting with your buddies?
The biggest thing is she doesn't have the frame to carry a lot of heavy things. So when we started acquiring her gear, we were finding the smallest, the lightest, the most packable, because we do a lot of it's all spot and stock, and we've started getting in about the last 4 or 5 years. We've been really getting into backpack hunting. So finding a backpack that is cut and short enough to fit her torso, because my wife's 5'3". Okay. So she's super short. So finding a backpack that isn't like way up here past her head when we're hiking through the woods was a hard thing to come by. And her gear, because her frame for her pack frame is so small, her bag can only be so big. So we tried a lot of gear trying to find something that could get small enough, get light enough that she can carry her own weight, and then we can do our backpack hunting together.
What did you I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What did you have to end up doing as far as the backpack goes? Did you have to find a specific company that had like women's backpacks, or did you have to go with like a kid's backpack or something?
So what we did is we went through 3 or 4 different packs until we found I found a Kafaru 22-inch tactical frame that was a lot shorter. I mean, most frames are 24, 26 inches. That 22-inch frame fits her perfectly. And the biggest bag that we could fit on there without having a lot of sag was like 4,000 cubic inches. So my bag, I've got a 26-inch frame, and my bag's 7,200, and hers is 4. So that was the thing that we had, but the frame fits her perfect. Because she had another company that it was an actual woman's backpack cut for women. The shoulder straps and stuff were cut different for them, and the frame was too tall. Every time she leaned her head back, she hit her head on the frame, and it was, and you couldn't adjust that.
Yeah, I could see that. I've never really done any kind of like mountain hunting with big bags like that, but I could see, you can maybe deal with that hiking a mile in the woods, but if you're hiking up mountains and for miles on end and packing game animals out, like you wouldn't want to put up with that much longer than an hour or so. So I can see, I've heard that backpacks are a big thing out that way. Like you got to have the right bag, or it can really, backpacking boots can ruin a hunt quick.
Yeah, real fast. And I'm kind of a gear guy. I really like to geek out on gear. So I've gone through 5, 6 different companies of backpacks, and boots. I buy a new pair of boots every 6 months, trying to try something different until I found the boots that actually work for me. And it's just, exactly what you said. You keep buying and keep buying until you find what works, and then I stick with it.
Now, is there any other kind of gear that maybe differs from you to your wife, as far as kind of like women goes, that you've noticed that she needs compared to you?
The biggest thing with her was her sleeping bag. Because she is so short, we found a women's sleeping bag that's cut shorter, because if she jumped in my bag, there's an extra 1.5 feet at the bottom or about a foot at the bottom where her feet would get cold. So finding a bag that actually fit her was tricky. We went through a few to find that one. Her bow, because she is such a small stature, she's got a 24.5-inch draw length. So finding a bow that can shoot, well, she's at 55 pounds. So 55 pounds at 24.5-inch draw length, it was hard finding a bow that would accommodate that also, where she could still, she could stretch it out there a little further than just shooting 20 or 30 yards.
I have to wonder if you went with bear archery for her bow, or was it something different? I know theirs are very, pretty much all their stuff's really adjustable.
What the first bow she had was a diamond, and it was a 30 to 60 pound draw, and it went from like 19 to 30 inches. And she shot that for a few years, and it allowed her to start out with a lighter poundage bow to get the reps in, to get her muscle memory, get her muscles built up. And then when she maxed out, she shot that to about 50, 55 pounds. She shot it for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. And then we ended up getting her the Bowtech, the Iwasaki bow, because it was carbon fiber, so it's super lightweight. And she got the 50 to 60 pounders at 55 now, and it went down to 24-inch draw length. So we were able to find those parameters, and she shot a couple other bows, but that one she liked the carbon fiber. It was super lightweight, and it was easy for her to hold, and she can hold it at draw for a long time.
So kind of jumping back to the backpack thing is, hers is almost half the size of yours. It sounds like, as far as like internal inches or whatever. Do you get stuck carrying a lot of her gear, or can she carry most of it herself?
She carries all of her own gear and her own food. A lot of times, like when we went to Colorado, we backpacked in Colorado for 4 or 5 days for elk. She carried her food. She carried all of her sleeping stuff, I think she had to change clothes and everything she needed. And I carried the teepee and all of my gear. So I carried the shelter. She carried her gear, but she did carry our stove too, because we've got a little collapsible wood burning stove for the teepee. So she carried that, and we clipped that to the outside of the bag. But I mean, we both went in right about 40 pounds without water, because where we were going had water. So we had a small like Nalgene bottle to get us there. But we were about 40 pounds each without water, and she carried all of her own stuff, so it worked out for me.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering if you were going to be carrying double the weight or not with the pack size difference.
No, it worked out pretty good. The biggest thing is we didn't go very far, because I didn't want to ruin her and ruin myself trying to pack out an elk. If we were 5, 6, 7 miles deep. So we only packed in like 3 miles. So it wasn't bad at all.
Yeah, that I can imagine packing out an elk, in the mountains or whatever, 7 miles is probably not the easiest thing in the world to do.
No, it probably would have killed us both. We didn't kill anything, so I don't know.
Uh-oh. Did you get close?
It was one of them trips. But we got close to a lot of other hunters.
Yeah.
It was a good learning experience. Like I said, we were in the mountains. We were there for almost 3 weeks, and we were doing 3 or 4 or 5 day stints at a time. So the knowledge gained was great. No, I didn't get to kill anything. Neither did she. But I learned a lot of cool country. Saw some beautiful, beautiful country. But it happens. It's better than being on the couch.
Yeah, sometimes the hunt's not always about the kill. So, like you said, you learned a lot of stuff, and that's most important. Is there anything that sticks out to you, maybe that you've noticed or becomes harder when you're hunting with your wife or with a woman, as opposed to hunting by yourself or with your buddies? I know it might be a touchy subject. She might be standing there watching and listening, but I'm just kind of curious if, does it ever feel like it's harder when you're hunting with your wife than it would be if you were, maybe hunting with your buddy who's been doing it since he was a kid?
The touchy subject, but menstrual cycles.
Mm-hmm.
Let's
talk about it.
I am by no means an expert, but that's the most difficult thing to deal with, because it changes everything for the days that's going on. It's hard to deal with, but it happens. So, she's very mindful of that, and she does what she's got to do to take care of the things she's got to take care of. And I just try not to get frustrated, because I want to keep going. I want to get to that next ridge. I want to keep going. And it kind of slows the pace down a little bit. And that's the hardest thing for me to do, because if I'm with my buddies, we're just going to go.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a feeling when I asked you that question that might be the answer, but I've never actually heard that brought up in another podcast or anywhere. So I thought, that might be something that would be worth touching on. Now, is that something that you think is that something you put a lot of thought into, like trying to plan your trip? Or are you like, there's already enough shit to plan, like I can't plan around that too? Um, I don't know. How much thought do you really put into it?
Well, that was just kind of a side product of our hunt because, like, when we were in Colorado, I was trying to time the rut because we were hunting September archery in Colorado. I didn't care when her cycle was. We were going to be there from these weeks to these weeks because I was trying to get into elk, and that was kind of our plan. And we'll deal with it when it gets there. And when it did, it was just one more thing to add to our trip. You know, and it meant you had to bring, she had to bring extra feminine products. We brought extra baby wipes. I mean, there was things just because we're backpack hunting. So it's not like we can just run, jump in the shower real fast. So,
Yeah.
you know, there was things like that we had to take care of that. Well, I didn't take care of, she had to take care of, but, you know, it was just one of those things where they do it every month. So they're pretty good at figuring out what they got to do and what they need to do to accommodate that time. And I left that up to her, and I had to be more patient, be a lot more understanding, not get frustrated. But again, we were there hunting together. We were there to have a good time. We were there to hopefully kill something. Didn't happen. But everything else, I checked off every other box on the list other than taking an animal. So to me, it was a success without actually harvesting anything.
Would you say that there is anything else that kind of becomes harder or you know, makes it more difficult, or would you say that's probably the main thing?
That's probably the main thing. Other than, you know, everyone, you're going to bicker. I mean, if you've been married, you got a girlfriend, whatever, you're going to argue, you're going to fight. We don't fight very often outdoors. So, I mean, when it does happen, it's like, okay, I go walk one way and she'll walk the other, or we separate for half hour, whatever, take a break, and then come back and say, okay, let's go. We got to focus on this. Let's go back to focusing on this. And we get back into the hunt instead of trying to strangle each other.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. But it's no different hunting with your buddies too, because there's times when, you guys don't always agree. Because I've got some buddies that I hunt with on a regular basis, and 99 times out of 100, we're going to agree. But when we don't, it's like, no, man, that's stupid. I ain't doing that. And then it turned into, oh, well, yeah, blah, blah. And, you know, you're going to have those disagreements sometimes until you weed out those hunting partners. And because a bad hunting partner can ruin a hunt faster than anything else. And that's all been, you know, I pretty much worked. I know who I can hunt with now.
Yeah, I think that's why you find a lot of guys or girls, you know, that hunt, they tend to, it seems like when you're more of a rookie, you know, hunter, you might hunt with all kinds of people, but you kind of notice as guys or, you know, girls get older, you find like some old man, he's got some dude that he like only hunts with. It's like only a guy that he really knows, that he just like clicks with, and they're not really gonna like tear each other's heads off. It does take some time to kind of figure out, because everybody's got different kind of morals and ethics and the way they like to do things. And but yeah, I mean, if you're with somebody long enough, it's, you know, you're out in the field and you're hot or you're cold or you're hungry, like eventually you're gonna like fight. So you just kind of figure it out and, you know, kind of go from there. But it is interesting to bring up the time of the month thing, because I never heard anybody talk about that. So I'm glad we touched on that for sure. When hunting with your wife, is there anything, you know, that maybe she does better than you do? Maybe you have bad eyesight, she's better at glassing up animals or something, or maybe she's a better shot. Do you feel like she's ever an advantage to bringing to coming with you and kind of being along for the hunt?
Yeah, my wife spot deer faster than I do.
Yeah.
You know, she does. Her eyes. I wear glasses when I'm bow hunting. I wear contacts because my glasses frame gets in the middle of my string and I can't see my feet, so I have to wear contacts. And when we're glassing or even just driving down a mountain road, my wife sees animals way faster than I do, and that's always worked out in our advantage. As far as like shooting goes, she's deadly. I don't know that she's any better than I am, but she'll let him. She'll let him fly.
Now,
I mean,
who
her
I have to
furthest year.
ask? I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead. No, go ahead.
I have to ask who does all the cooking at camp.
It depends. We take turns, honestly. If there's any grilling involved, if we're in a main deer camp, if there's any grilling, I'm gonna do the grilling. Like when we're backpacking, we're eating peak refuels or mountain house style meals. And a lot of times in the morning, I'll get up in the morning and I'll start the coffee, and she'll start boiling the water for the breakfast. So we're working as a team. So there's not really we don't really have a camp cook anymore. Before she was hunting, she did a lot of that. I mean, we'd be in deer camp and she'd bust out a Dutch oven and start cooking peach cobbler. So, but with both of us hunting, by the time we get back to camp, we're going to make as quick a meal as we can. We're working together to try to get it done. And then that way we can get some sleep and get up in the morning and do it all over again.
So you pretty much say that the gender roles kind of go out the window when you're kind of backpacking. You're out in the middle of nowhere or whatever for days at a time. It's kind of just a team effort, not women cook and the guys, grill or whatever. I guess that's cooking too, but you kind of get what I'm saying. Yeah. It kind of goes out the window.
Oh yeah. Yeah, 100%. And that's the nice thing about her too, is because we work as a team. So when we go to set up camp, if I need help setting up shelter, she's going to help set up the shelter. If I'm setting something up, she'll go get the water, and then I'll go collect the firewood. So it's not like, okay, honey, I'm here, so get everything set up so I can lounge back and relax. It's teamwork. Just like hunting with the guys, but it's my wife.
I feel like a lot of guys, they don't want to take their girlfriends or their wives because they worry about having to carry a bunch of weight. They have to kind of teach them what to do or carry the extra gun or they pretty much got to, in other words, babysit. So I think a lot of guys don't take their wives or girlfriends because of that. Would you have any tips or suggestions on how guys can get their significant other involved in hunting in the outdoors? And I guess to add on to that, how to do it in a way that's not gonna ruin the experience for them, not be too, get your ass up, let's go drill sergeant-y, I guess, because there's kind of like a fine line that you got to walk, because you can very easily ruin that for somebody, especially on their first time out.
Yeah. The biggest thing with that was because she jumped into hunting herself, I didn't have to deal with that. Mm-hmm. But like with archery hunting, she didn't hunt archery the first 2 years she had a bow. She was like, yeah, I kind of want to get a bow. So we went and got her a bow, and she just practiced, and it was just something we did together just to shoot bows. And I didn't push her to decide to hunt with a bow. I didn't say, hey, well, we bought this for this, you're going to go do that. I let her make her own progress and let her decide when she was ready to go do something like that. Women that never hunted, get them in the outdoors, take them camping, take them fishing, go spend a week. I mean, if you take a travel trailer or get a condo or whatever, in some place, or Airbnb, go spend some time in the outdoors, take them hiking, just so they can see how wonderful it is outside when there's no cell service, and spend time outdoors. And eventually, if they show interest, then kind of fan that flame a little bit, but don't try to blow it out with a hurricane, just try to slowly let them work at their own pace to that point. A lot of have friends whose wives hunt. A lot of them, like, they get mad at the wife because she's not fast enough. She's not moving fast enough. She's not thinking on her feet fast enough, which, for somebody that's been hunting their whole life, to expect somebody who never hunted to be on the same page, it's not practical. You can't do it. So the easiest thing for me would be to say, just, hey, let them work at their own pace, and be passionate and quiet about it. Don't ruffle their feathers, I guess.
Yeah.
Would be the best way I could put that. Just let them work at their own pace, be encouraging, but not demanding. There we go. That's better.
I guess I don't really know what kind of all hunting you guys have out in California, but let's just say, your wife had never hunted before. You guys been married. Maybe you're just dating. I don't know. Maybe you're engaged. Let's just say you're engaged and you want to take her hunting. She's like, okay, I'll go. I'll try it out. Like, in California, what are you going to do, or where are you going to take her for a first hunt? You're probably not going to go backpacking for 5 days in the mountains somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Would it be like some kind of small game stuff, or?
For small game in California would be, we've got our upland birds. I've taken my wife bird hunting with me. The one thing she's not real good at is shooting a shotgun. So she goes with me, and every once in a while she'll go shooting too. But man, I don't know. There's we have a lot of national forests here. Most of everything we have is public land. Private land hunting out here, I mean, it's available, but it's either pay to play or it's absolutely forbidden because it is still California. I'd say, get a deer camp set up and just do day excursions.
Yeah.
You don't have to hike 10 miles, but have a good base camp set up to where you can go back, you can relax. If it's a trailer or a cabin or something, to have a place to go back to kind of just decompress a little bit, and then talk about how your day went and what happened, what worked, what didn't work. But don't, like I said, don't push it 10 miles, push it a mile. Just practically just get off the road.
Yeah.
And that would probably be the best way. I mean, you might see something, you might not. It is what it is, but at least you're getting out there and trying and giving them some exposure.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of people miss out on too. As I'm sure 9 out of 10 times you're going to come back empty-handed from a hunt. You may go out 7, 8, 9 times and not even see anything. I think a lot of people that maybe it's not, a spouse or a girlfriend or whatever, maybe it's just a buddy, but I think a lot of people go out the first time, and a lot of people have this, they have this thought that you just like go out and you just shoot a deer, and that's like not really how it goes. And I think a lot of people get discouraged because of that when they go their first time hunting. And I think people could, do better by explaining like the whole process. I think that's important when you take somebody hunting for the first time, kind of explaining, what scrapes and rubs and tracks and, trails and all this stuff is, instead of just kind of like, I'm in charge, follow me, and just, stay quiet. I think if you get people involved, the person that you're taking it really, it makes them feel like they're part of it, instead of just like, in some schooling session where they're just like, do what you're told,
Yeah. I mean, it took me, I hunted for 5 or 6 years before I harvested my first deer. I went deer hunting every year and I learned everything not to do before I was able to figure out what to do, and I think it's a process. It's a learning process. And by the time my wife started hunting with me, I've gotten pretty successsul. In California, we're allowed 2 deer tags a year. The buck tags only where we're at. It's all public land for the most part. So there's a little bit of private here and there, but most of the privates are big ranches where either you're paying to play or it's by invite only. If a buddy of my neighbor calls me and says, "Hey, we got permission to go hunt this ranch," I'm not going to tell him no.
Yeah.
So But it's a learning process, and it was kind of nice too because my wife and I kind of got to learn together. I'd already been pretty successful, but she came in with a different perspective on things and things that she'd learned or seen or heard, listened to the guys talk about in deer camp when she was growing up. So, it worked out pretty good for us.
Yeah, it's hard to get it's hard not sometimes to get frustrated when like, the other person makes a mistake, but you have to kind of think back of, the first time you went hunting when you're 6 or 8 or 10, whenever you made that mistake. And it's like, you got to kind of make the mistakes. That's kind of the whole
Oh,
process
yeah.
of the whole thing.
Yeah. The loudest noise in the woods is somebody behind you stepping on a stick.
Yeah.
The loudest noise I've ever heard in my entire life. Louder than the gunshot. That stick that she stepped on is louder than anything I've ever heard in my life. But it's not like I've never done it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and you got to do it multiple times to kind of learn.
Yeah. And you just got to roll with it and shake your head and try not to giggle and just keep on going.
So I want to go back and cover something on the gear that I missed. When you were talking about your wife being so, short, I am curious what kind of hunting clothing that you wear. And I'm not sure how tall or how you're built, but I'm curious on what you wear, and I'm curious if she wears the same, brand, or if she had to find some other different brand that's more fitting to her, because you guys are doing, a lot of our hunting around here is like go out 5, 6, 7 hours. You might do an all day sit, but most of the hunting around here is like, you're not going to go camp in a field and then deer hunt in the woods in the morning. Like, it's just not how it is, but you guys are out for days at a time. So you guys got to have super reliable stuff. So what kind of clothing are you guys wearing?
So I actually, I don't want to say, I'm really loyal to none. I've got Kuiu, I've got Sitka, I've got First Light, I've got Cryptic. I went through a lot of the cotton stuff in the early years before all these technical clothing companies came out. So I got through that pretty quick once I realized that you get what you pay for.
Mm-hmm.
And I typically I don't match my camo. I'll wear whatever I've got that day. I usually wear a lot of solids for pants just because they're double use. I can wear them during the week or wear them wherever, and then I can wear them hunting too. And then I'm not covered in Sitka or Cryptic camo or whatever. My wife, she started out wearing a lot of the Bass Pro Cabela's brand women's type stuff, but they still weren't cut right, and they weren't. I don't want to say they weren't high quality, but they weren't as high of a quality as what I was wearing. And then I got her a pair of Sitka pants, and she wears those Sitka Timberline pants all the time. Enough that I bought her another pair. So she's been really digging the Sitka pants. Now they're pricey as all get out, but you get what you pay for. You really do. Kuiu just came out with their women's line this week, and she's super excited about that. So I'm going to try and get her into a couple pairs of Kuiu pants and shirts and see how that works out for her with the merino base layers, because we use a lot of base layers. We've got the full system kind of set up. So we're going to try the women's Kuiu for her, and Kuiu is a California company, so kind of,
yeah,
why not?
Repping your state.
Exactly. I mean, yeah. Aside from the politics, California is an amazing place to be. The weather's always good. Where we're located in the Central Valley here, the San Joaquin Valley, we're like 5 hours from everything. I can get to LA, San Francisco if I want to go to San Francisco. We can get to Las Vegas. We can get to the beach, all within 5 hours. So, and the weather's typically pretty good. It's not all sunshine and beaches and Golden Gate Bridge, but California's not bad, other than the politics.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with you on the clothing side. I started wearing First Light last year. I wore Bass Pro Cabela stuff for years, and gosh,
Yep.
if it rains or your shirt gets wet and that stuff, you feel like you weigh like 700 pounds. It's ridiculous. But I'm a big fan of First Light. I haven't wore
Mhm.
Kuiu or Sitka stuff, but I'm sure they make good stuff too. But um, First Light for me, like I need to be able to pack a jacket and an extra hoodie, when I go up in a stand for an all day sit or whatever. And for me, like that stuff is so easy to layer on and it's so packable.
Mhm.
Like I'm just such a fan of it. Definitely expensive, but definitely it's life changing and it's, it seems to be pretty durable. I kind of put my stuff through the ringer and it doesn't seem to have any issues. So, um, let's jump into a
Yeah,
little bit of. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I would say, yeah, my wife, her base layers, I want to say they're the First Light. I want to say Kiln.
Mhm.
Her base layer, her leggings. Oh, dude, she loves them. She wears those. She'll wear. I mean, she'll wear those. Well, she wore them 3-4 days in a row when we were in Colorado. I mean, that was her base layers, and then she would wear her Timberline pants. And so, yeah, like I said, I'm not loyal to any of them. I'll wear whatever works or whatever. If
Yeah.
this piece from First Light works better than this piece from Sitka, then I'm gonna wear that. And if this KU piece works better than that First Light, I'm gonna wear that. And I'll put them all together and look horrible camouflage wise. But
Frankenstein camo.
oh yeah, big time. Yeah, I don't care as long as the piece works, I'm gonna wear it.
Yeah, that's the way I am. I'm not really loyal when it comes to that kind of stuff either. I'm more of a functionality kind of guy. If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, it's junk, and I'm not going to wear it. I don't care what brand name's on it. Um,
Exactly.
so let's talk a little bit about California when it comes to hunting. Can you kind of describe the type of hunting opportunities available in California and just, I guess, generally, what you guys hunt out there?
So California, we've actually got quite a bit of game animals. We've got on the West Coast, we've got the Columbia blacktails, and then on the east side of the state, we've got mule deer. And then like towards the middle, if you drew a line from east to west, right down the middle, we've got the Interstate 5 corridor, and that's kind of where they draw the line. Anything west of there is considered blacktail. Anything east there is considered mule deer. Now there's some interbreeding right there on that kind of border areas, which is pretty close to where we're at. So I've killed deer that look like a blacktail, and then I've killed another deer that looks 100% like a mule deer. So, and then everything in between. We've got so for game animals, we got blacktails, mule deer, black bears, wild pigs, coyotes, all kinds of upland birds and waterfowl. There are antelope, the pronghorn antelope. We've got those in the northern part of the state, and some of the stuff kind of on the west side. And then down south of us here there's a herd of Rocky Mountain elk that were transplanted back in, I think, the 60s that got out and are now populating one of the big ranches south of here that a lot of the celebrities go hunt because it's an hour and a half north of Los Angeles. So every time Joe Rogan kills a bull here in California on the Tejon Ranch, that's practically my backyard. And then we have also we have local Tule elk that are native to California. So because the three elk here are in Americas, you got your Roosevelts, your Rocky Mountains, and your Tule elk, and the Tule elk are only found in California.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't familiar with the third one. I had knew the other two types of elk, but I had never, I'm not a big elk guy. I don't have those really where I live, so I wasn't familiar that there was that. I didn't know that it existed or that it was only in California, so that's interesting. How does Northern California, and you may not know, maybe you do, maybe you don't, but how does Northern California kind of differ from Southern California, I guess, as far as hunting opportunities and landscape? I guess kind of like paint the picture of maybe Southern California hunting and Northern California hunting, because I picture like Southern California to me is like, I don't know, like beaches and bikinis. In Northern California,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just picture as being some mountains and a bunch of weed grows.
Well, yeah. So Southern California, because we live we live in, I guess it's the southern end of Central California, if that makes any sense at all.
Mm-hmm.
Here we live at 3,400 feet, and the mountain, the unit that I hunt is got a couple mountains on it. They're about 8,000 feet. So we've got regular pines, manzanita bushes, junipers, and stuff like that. Northern California, I've never hunted Northern California. I've hunted some of the eastern Sierra Nevada mountains, which are, range anywhere from 10,000 feet up to, I don't remember what Mount Whitney is. I think it's the tallest mountain in the United States, but I think it's like 16,000 something feet. And that's way above tree line. This is all high desert country over there. I've never hunted Northern California. I know they've got a lot of redwoods up there, big redwood forests. And once you get closer to the Oregon border, from what I've been told, it's like hunting a rainforest. It's like hunting Oregon, from what I understand. But I've never been there. I know on the northeast corner of the state, they've got a lot of antelope up there. You can draw antelope tags up there. Getting them, it's all preference point and draw units. So, but I like I said, I've never hunted Northern California. I've either hunted here where we're at locally, or I've hunted over on the coast a couple times hunting for blacktail. But like the archery season there starts in July when it's 110 degrees outside. I mean, the deer are still in full velvet, but it's hot. So you're wanting to hunt water as much as possible.
Hey guys, real quick ad from our sponsors over at Buzzard Roost Saddles. Buzzard Roost Saddles are proudly made in the USA, and their independent angle adjustments on the top and bottom panels provide the ultimate comfort for those long sits. Buzzard Roost stands by their motto, "We ain't fancy," and they help you achieve your goal while keeping things simple. You can connect with Buzzard Roost Saddles on Facebook and Instagram, or you can visit their website at buzzardroostsaddles.com. Yeah, that's hot. I do Kentucky's archery season starts September 3rd, and I'm in Indiana, but I'm right on the border. And I hunted, Indiana my whole life, and it comes in later. It comes in October 1st. So I started hunting over there, and it's like, my God, it was hot October 1st in Indiana. And I started hunting a month earlier. It's like, Jesus, 95 degrees. I totally get that. That heat thing, and trying to kill a velvet, and gosh, it can be hot. You guys have black bear in California, right?
That is correct.
Yeah, so
Still,
I recently I saw an article a couple days ago about them trying to ban black bear hunting in California. It's like the second year they're trying to do it. Are you familiar with any of that?
Yes, I am.
So I just saw on there that they tried to ban it and it got blocked for the second year. So maybe if you want to touch on that, or maybe you have more information on it. I just kind of skimmed the article, but
well, California being California, everything here is based on emotion, not on science. So they decided that a black bear is a teddy bear, and because it's a teddy bear, we shouldn't be hunting teddy bears. Fortunately, smarter minds prevailed, and the biologist and the actual fish and game department and a lot of the local hunters and a couple of nonprofits, howlforwildlife.org, they got involved pretty heavily with it. And they had a big game commission, and the fish and game and the biologists pitched their case to it. The anti-hunters pitched their case to it. And then the hunters got up and they pitched, they gave their perception and their perspective on things. And the commission voted 4-0 to not ban bear hunting in California. The reason they skewed the numbers on the population, because about 5-6 years ago, they banned running dogs on bears. They banned that completely. And because of that, obviously the harvest numbers went down. So because the harvest numbers went down, the anti-hunters decided that the reason the harvest numbers went down wasn't because they banned the hunting with dogs. It was because the bear population had dropped, and that we needed to stop hunting bears because the bear population dropped, which is 100% not true. I've seen more bears in the last 4, 5, 6 years than I have ever in California. They're everywhere, especially living in the mountains where we are. I see bears all the time now. That they're getting run out of the high mountains. They're getting run out of there because they really don't have a full hibernation season here, because it doesn't really get cold enough for them to hibernate for a full season. So the younger bears are getting run out by the bigger bears, and it's pushing those bears down into town, into the small mountain communities, and even into actual towns down here. And the anti-hunters just they didn't listen to the people that are actually in the field. They had their agenda, and their agenda got squashed, which makes me happy.
So when you say commission, are you talking like Fish and Game like commission? Who's the commission that actually, I guess, votes on it and has the full final ruling on it? Is Fish and Game involved in any of that decision or no?
Yeah, it was a Fish and Game commission. I don't know who sits on that commission itself. I don't know if they're actual wardens or higher ups, and I don't know how they get elected to be on that commission or selected to be on that commission. But it's part of the Fish and Wildlife. It's their commission.
Yeah, it kind of makes you wonder.
They listen to their biologists and they listen to their wardens. Thankfully, on this issue, they typically don't. But on this one, there was enough pushback,
which we'll get into in a second, I think. It kind of makes you wonder, the wardens might know what's going on, but like, do their bosses or the people that they answer to, are they like just dudes that like sit in an office and just like say yes or no to shit, or do they actually know what's going on? So you never really like, I don't know, you never really know who's allowing it and what kind of money's from these organizations and stuff that's switching hands. And I'm not accusing anybody of taking money, but that stuff kind of goes on. So it just kind of makes you wonder. I want to talk about it was called Bill SB 856 in California and has something to do with pig tags. Are you familiar with that at all?
Yeah, I am a little bit. I did some research on that too. I'm vaguely familiar with it. A long time ago, that's probably a long time, 15, 20 years ago, you used to be able to buy a booklet of pig tags. It was like 5 pig tags. I think it was $8. And then recently, within the last few years, they jumped it up to where you were paying for each individual pig tag because they're not native to California, but the Department of Fish and Wildlife and the people that make decisions in Sacramento decided that they wanted to make more money off of it. And I don't know if it had an adverse effect on that because then the population got even more out of control. But from what I understand, the bill was I think it was to buy basically a $15 permit to take as many pigs as you want, or as many pigs as you can.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, a lot of hunters and stuff were, people always say like hunters just want to kill shit, but like hunters are like opposing this. They would rather pay the money for the tags for each individual one. But, like whatever the game commission or whatever is saying, like you can just buy one tag and that's like good for as many as you want. Are hunters out there like kind of worried that they're just going to like eliminate them? Is that their whole plan is to try to eliminate them? Because I'm sure people like, I know there's people down south that like I've talked to. I'm like, I know pigs are invasive there, and they're like, yeah, they tear up my shit all the time. And I'm like, if you could snap your fingers right now and eliminate pigs in your area, even though you like to hunt them, would you do it? And they're like, no. So I'm just trying to figure out like, why people are so kind of tore up about it.
I don't know why. I can't speak for anybody else. I don't know for sure what the stigma is about it. Anytime they just open something up to slam as many as you can, I kind of question it myself. There's got to be an ulterior motive behind it. I don't know whose money's behind it, because these things happen because of that. I mean, that's just, in my opinion, that's kind of the way it works. Somebody said something. Somebody wants to do something. There's money behind it somehow. I know the one thing that I saw that I read was that it makes it illegal to transplant and to transplant them, to move them and put them in, game reserves, or we don't have any high fence ranches around here where I'm at. I don't know if there's any up north, but I know that there are outfitter and guide services that make a lot of money off of hunting pigs. And I don't know if they're running them inside high fences or not. Again, I'm kind of talking out my ass here, but I did notice that was one of the things that it makes it illegal to raise and transport and transplant pigs for the purpose of hunting that way. I mean, if you've got them, and you can hunt as many as you want. I don't see them eliminating the pigs, no matter what they do. They're here to stay. If we can get them in check, that'd be great, because they tear up a lot of stuff. They tear up all the rangeland for the cattle. They're tearing up all the water lines on the pistachio orchards and the grape vineyards, and the almonds and everything else we've got around here. The pigs get in them and they destroy everything. The ranches, the ranchers and the cowboys that I'm friends with, they deal with pigs all the time, because they're tearing up the grazing land. They'll get in and start rooting. You get a herd of pigs in there that starts rooting up the ground, and they'll tear up everything. And they're not nice. They're violent.
Yeah, I've heard some of them. The older ones can really be nasty, charge at you and all kinds of stuff. So I don't like to get real political here on the show, but I'm gonna make a little comparison. When they wrote that bill for the stimulus, a lot of people were tore up, because they were like, here's what you're getting, but then like in the bill they put all this other random shit in there, like stuff that they try to get passed by, like, you're gonna get this big prize, but we're gonna throw all this other little shit in here that you don't like, but we're gonna get you because you're gonna want this. Well, with SB 856 in California, I read, they put the pig stuff in there, but I did read that there were some other things in that that was hunting related, and I'm not sure exactly what those are, that maybe some people were upset about too. So maybe it totally wasn't, the pig situation. Maybe it was, we're going to let you shoot a shit ton of pigs or whatever. Maybe some people were like happy about that, but like on the flip side, like, we're going to try to ban bear hunting with this, not exactly ban bear hunting, wasn't in the bill, but you kind of get what I'm saying. Like, they were trying to sugarcoat whatever mess that they were trying to kind of slide past people in the, I guess we'll call it the underwriting of it,
Yeah, anytime they can earmark a bill, they're going to throw something on top of it to entice people, and then they're going to throw a bunch of shit on the bottom of it that nobody's going to get to and read, because the bill's 4,000 pages. Guaranteed. Anytime Sacramento does anything to help hunters, there's a reason to question it. Honestly, I'm hesitant to believe anything they say coming out of that certain area of our wonderful state. But yeah, like I said, I read through it, I skimmed through it too, and try to educate myself on it. But I don't hunt pigs. We don't have a lot of pigs on public land where I'm at. All the pigs are on private land, and those ranches either charge you $500, $600 a pig, or it's absolutely no hunting at all, because it's a nature conservancy. So it's by special ominous proclamation that you get to even step through the gate. So I mean, I've done pig hunting around here. I've been allowed to go hunt on some of these ranches, but I don't do it a lot. It's just not something I enjoy it. It's fun. And there's a lot of pigs around here. In fact, the pigs are moving in. Before too long, I expect that the canyon that I live up, it already has pigs in it. Before I'll have pigs on my 20 acres before too long. It's going to happen, because they can't keep them in check, which is fine. I'll shoot them when they get here.
Yeah, I mean, it's meat in the freezer,
Exactly.
Can't complain about that. So just something that kind of, crossed my mind. I kind of wonder about the hunting culture in California, and I kind of like to think like I I drive into California. As soon as I cross the border, there's like going to be a bunch of people there standing with we're anti-hunting. But I have to imagine that California is probably like anywhere else. As you get more like in the ranch, like farmy kind of areas, you're going to have like clusters of people. Like your community probably, has nothing against hunting. And then when you go into the city, you probably see more of that kind of, that's rednecky, or they're anti-hunters or whatever it is. Is that kind of how it is in California too? The closer you get to the city, or is more of the state lean towards like the anti stuff, or is it not an issue there?
Geographically, the majority of the state is Republican and conservative. The majority of the state, with the exception of San Francisco, the Los Angeles Basin area, and Sacramento. Anytime you get near those big metropolitan areas where you've got tens of millions of people, their perspective on hunting is different because they've never hunted. They get their food from a grocery store, and that's just where it comes from. They don't, I've heard it said, eating a beef's no different than eating a deer. They just killed it with their checkbook, right? And I'm stealing that quote from somebody else. But
I mean, you're not wrong.
No, exactly. And that's the problem with California, is because the majority of people are based in Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Sacramento. They win at election time. They've got the population, they've got the populace, so they're able to outvote everybody else in the state. But the majority of California, they're pretty conservative. I like to say I live in the other California, where we do rodeos, we hunt, we're running tractors, we're running dirt roads. Now it's not a red clay dirt road, but it's a dirt road. So and that's every once in a while you'll get people. Rogan has been really good for hunting, I think, in my opinion, because he's reached a base of people that's never even experienced or even thought about it, because he's he is who he is. There's other influencers out there that are awesome for promoting hunting, and they're reaching people that have never thought about hunting. California, if they can ship it away in California, it's going to come everywhere else, and that's what worries me. I worry about that for the people in Texas. I worry about that for you guys in the Midwest. If it can get passed in California, eventually it's going to happen everywhere, because they've already taken away. I mean, mountain lions are still considered a protected species in California, and they're a lot more than there should be. They outlawed trapping and hunting of bobcats a couple of years ago. Well, they outlawed trapping first, and the next year they completely took away hunting for bobcats. So we can't kill bobcats anymore. Coyotes we can still hunt coyotes, but they were trying to they did do away with coyote hunting derbies. We can't do coyote derbies anymore. That's against the law in California, where you get a group of guys together and you have a derby, so you kill the most coyotes. That's completely illegal now. Before too long, I mean, they're coming for us. I mean, they are. They're coming for hunters. They're going to start in California, and they're doing everything they can to fight it.
I'd love to hear what you I have these thoughts, or these misconceptions about California, but you've probably never been to Indiana. So what do you Californians think about Indiana? What's your what do you think about when you cross into Indiana? I'm just kind of curious.
I see wooded farms. I see guys hanging out of tree stands, and you guys are up there freezing your ass off, sitting in the tree stand for 10 hours a day, or as much daylight as you can. You're going to get there a couple hours before daylight. You're going to wait till dark to get out of there. You're freezing your ass off all night in the tree stand, waiting for you guys an 8-point or a 10-point to walk by, or that 30-point buck. I'd love to whitetail hunt. I've never been able to do it, but I mean, that's what I see. But I see a bunch of good old boys, and that's kind of the way I see the Midwest. I see a bunch of good old boys.
Is that California, tree stand? You guys don't do any kind of tree stand saddle hunting, anything like that, do you? Everything was that tree stand thing kind of turn you on? Does that turn you off, like being stuck in a tree when you think about it?
I'd love to do it.
Yeah, but you don't think you'd want to do it all the time?
I'd love to try it. Yeah, I'd love to try it. I can be pretty patient for a while, but I still like to try it just because I've never done it and never killed a whitetail. I want to kill a whitetail. I've looked into. I know zero about whitetail hunting. Nothing. other than what I've seen on TV or listened to on podcasts or read in, the Petersons or the hunting magazines, those kind of magazines. But I don't, or Eastman's. To me, the Midwest seems like a bunch of good old boys that get out, they work their ass off, they put in the time, they put in the research, they find their target buck, and then they go for it. And sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. I would assume it's a lot like hunting in California. Most of the time you lose. That's why they call it hunting, not killing.
You'd be right. Yeah, I'm jealous of you guys. I've always wanted to just kind of like walk for 17 miles and like glass from the top of a mountain. I just can't imagine like what it would be to watch an animal from a half mile away. Like, I mean, if you're looking a half mile here, it's crossing, an open cut field or something. But like the likely chance of you stalking something from a half mile away out in a bean field with a bow is like pretty much slim to none. You're not gonna have any kind of cover or anything like that. So I'm definitely jealous that you guys get to do that. So I was kind of curious though what you kind of thought about it.
And I know there's I've heard you on Instagram and other things. There's a beef. They got the Westies and you got the Midwesterners. I could care less. As long as we're on the same team, we're trying to keep you from taking away hunting. I don't care where you're at. I don't care what you're hunting. I don't care what you're doing. I get disappointed because everybody's like, let's just let California fall off in the ocean. But if it starts here, it's gonna roll through. Eventually, if the more they take here, the more it's gonna affect everybody else. And I just don't think people understand that. But living here, I see it all the time. Every November that we have an election, there's something on there somewhere to take away something, just like this bear ban that was coming up that just ended this week. But again, luckily, thank God it got shot down by the Fish and Game Commission.
I'd love to visit California. I just wish that they would change their gun laws, but we won't get into that right now.
Oh yeah. No, don't get me started on gun laws.
So
don't get me started.
I guess you kind of talked about how we're all on the same team. Hunting and all this stuff is already small enough, and we got all these people coming after us all the time. But you often see that hunters from other states aren't really concerned about like what's going on. Like you said, like our dudes in Indiana are really giving a shit what happens in California? Probably not, unless they go out there and hunt. Like they could care less. I can honestly say, like, if I wasn't having you on the podcast, I probably wouldn't have came across those two, issues that I was, looking at some stuff in California. It probably wouldn't cross my mind because I'm, the likelihood of me going to California anytime soon to hunt is pretty slim to none. But can you kind of cover why maybe dudes from other states, maybe somebody from Florida should care about what's going on in California, or somebody from, New York should care what's going on in California? Just, just kind of like why we should, maybe keep up more on issues like that. And I know you kind of touched on it a little bit about, it's going to kind of drift eastward, but, I don't know, like we got to kind of figure that out. We got to kind of like the states kind of need to watch out for each other, I guess.
I think people think that when they're in their home state and they're not in California, that their state could never change.
Yeah.
But if COVID did nothing else, it showed people that wrong policies don't fix nothing, because a lot of the people in California left California because of how draconian it was because of COVID. And now they're ending up in Texas. They're ending up in Idaho. They're ending up, a lot of people from California have bounced to Florida. And a lot of people get a bad rap. Californians get a bad rap because the majority of the population people, they're very left leaning. And if those people leave here and the left leaning people go to Texas because the taxes are better, or go to Florida because there's more freedom, they don't necessarily leave their politics in California. A lot of people in Texas, like, Californians stay home. Idaho, Californians stay home because they're moving to these states and they're not They're not changing the way they're not changing the way they vote. They're not seeing the mistakes of the politicians in California, and they're voting to put those same kind of politicians in the other states. And if that stuff passes here, it's like opening the floodgates. Once the politicians in California get away with X, Y, or Z, the other politicians on that same side of the aisle in Texas, Idaho, Florida, Arizona, Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Colorado is almost as bad as California. They're moving to take that ball and run with it. And if we can squash it in California, it's not giving them something to refer to on how to write those bills to be able to eliminate mountain lion hunting in Colorado or eliminate bobcat, mountain lion, and bear hunting in Arizona. Because if we can stop it here, I think it'll help stop it elsewhere, because it gives them nothing to base their bills on, I think, in my opinion. And I could, again, I'm definitely not a politician, and I don't know how that process works per se, but if it passes here, chances are somebody somewhere else is going to try and write the same bill. They're going to use that as a line and a template to try and push it through in their state because it fits their agenda.
What was the slogan for COVID? Was it like "Stop the Spread"? Was that something that a lot of people said? So I'm wondering, you guys can put out a T-shirt that says "Stop the Spread," but you can put like some kind of stop the spread of these anti-hunting issues or some shit. You can come up with some fancy thing to put on a T-shirt to let people know, like, stop spreading this bullshit across the rest of the United States or even in California. Because it's like, I mean, it's the same kind of concept. Like, it's just kind of, and you look at it, when you look at all the bills and everything that's been banned, it's all way out that way. And you can slowly see it drifting east, and it's, I don't know, it's worrisome. I've already had somebody on the show that talked about Arizona banning trail cameras for hunting. And the actually is the episode I posted this week with Jason Miller. He big time hunter, big time, bow and gun and everything else. And he actually put his foot down. He's like, I'd love to run trail cameras and I don't really want to get in trouble. So like, I guess I won't hunt this year. So he's just running trail cameras, and it sucks bad because he didn't want to run trail cameras in one area and then hunt like 17 miles away and then somehow get caught saying that he was trying to cheat or whatever. But the trail camera thing, I don't know if you guys are big on that out there, but I can see that making its way this way. I'm sure it's going to be the next thing.
Yeah, I listened to that episode. It was a great episode, by the way. And Arizona, yeah, I felt bad for the guy because, he was worried about, if he had a hunting license on him, if he shot a rabbit or if he shot a coyote, that they'd bust him for it, and it's not working. And that's too bad. I've hunted Arizona quite a bit. Well, for a few years I've been to Arizona, and I've been in some of their premier units scouting with friends, and the trail cameras there were no joke. I mean, 16, 17 trail cameras on one water hole, the size of a 3x5 table. I mean, now we put up trail cameras there when we were there for scouting, and then I've used trail cameras here occasionally. I've never shot a deer off of the trail camera, off of pictures. I've never shot a buck off of, because I saw him on my camera. So I don't, I don't necessarily agree with it. I wrote letters to, and I signed petitions to stop it, because again, what happens next? Because Arizona is our next door neighbor, and I can be in Arizona in 8 hours. And I've hunted Arizona. I've hunted elk there, hunted mule deer there, and if it happens there, then if they see a template there, then chances are California's going to be the next one to ban trail cameras. Honestly, I'm just waiting for that one to come through because it passed in Arizona. So that's something that we're going to have to deal with here too, I'm sure. And that's what worries me, because we're not the first, which is kind of concerning that somebody else they're taking California politicians' playbook and they're putting it elsewhere.
Yeah, it's Do you see, is there any other major issues that stick out to you as far as California is concerned when it comes to hunting issues? Is there any other main things, maybe stuff that they're trying to ban or stuff that they've recently banned, or anything like that? Is there anything kind of crazy going on that people should know about? Maybe people are not aware
Well,
of.
I don't know if it's anything people aren't aware of. The biggest one for me was the bobcats, because they eliminated the trapping of bobcats a couple of years ago because of the fur trade. So all the people that buy fur coats that are the politicians, they banned to outlaw trapping for fur coats in California. So now they're going to have to buy them somewhere else. So somebody else, instead of keeping that money local, because our trappers made good money off those pelts, so instead of keeping that money local, now that money's going to go somewhere else. So somebody's going to be trapping bobcats in Arizona, they're going to be trapping bobcats in New Mexico or wherever else. Instead of keeping that money local, now that money's gone too. And same thing with hunting bobcats. A year after they eliminated the trapping, they made it illegal to hunt bobcats. So now they're not getting the money they were getting from the tags from bobcats. So that's less money going into the Fish and Game Commission or the Fish and Game Department for conservation. And we've got bobcats. They kill my chickens all the time. Now I can get a depredation permit for it, but I'd rather just buy a tag and handle it myself instead of calling a warden, getting a warden up here, proving to the warden, yes, this was killed by a bobcat. Yes, I'm having a problem with my chicken coop. Yes, my dogs are going crazy. And when my dogs go crazy, I need you to come up here and shoot this for me or give me the permission to do it.
Yeah.
Which they will issue that. But now I'm tossing taxpayer dollars to bring him up here, costing them money for fuel, because the price of fuel is, fantastic right now. So it's just California, they're going to chip away and chip away and chip away until there's nothing left to chip away at.
It's funny, that it's kind of like the same concept as, we talked about earlier with, killing a beef with your checkbook compared to like, shooting a deer or whatever. It's kind of the same kind of thing. Like they like don't want the dirt on their hands, or they don't want the blood on their hands in their state. They're more than welcome to wear the shit and buy the shit and have all the hides and all this shit in their fancy houses or whatever it is, but like they don't want it killed in their state because then it makes them feel like they're dirty or something. I just don't get it. It's nuts, man. It really is.
I think there's a lot of that, but I also think it's a lack of education. I think a lot of people are so far removed from what really happens in the world that they just don't realize that it's not just a bunch of guys out there drinking beer, tossing beer cans in the bed of a truck, and just waylaying every doe that they see.
Yeah.
I think that's the misconception, or that they're just trophy hunters out there just for the horns. They're just trying to get the antlers. That's all they're there for. And it's a lack of education. And I think that's as much or a bigger problem than people sitting on their high horse saying, you can't do this, but I'm still going to buy my fur coat. Now that is a problem too, but I think a lot of it honestly is a lack of education. People just don't understand what actually goes into it. They don't understand the process. They don't understand where their own food comes from. It comes from the grocery store, and or McDonald's or wherever else you're getting your food from. I think it's just people are so far removed from, I don't want to say reality, but they're so far removed from what really happens that they just don't understand.
I wish the meat.
But they live in a small. They live in a large. Yeah, they live in a large city where they don't see trees other than what's planted in somebody's front yard.
Yeah, right. They just completely. I wish the meat department and all grocery stores would just explode. It just kind of makes me sick to actually walk through those. I'm not gonna lie. I'll put you on the spot here, and maybe you don't have the answer, but how do we bridge that gap between, those people and hunters? Is there a way to kind of, help them understand us? Is there a way for us to kind of understand them, as hard as that, it sounds? You got to kind of, not be arrogant. You got to kind of try to look at their side too. How can we kind of meet in the middle and work things out? Do you think that's ever possible? You think it's just going to be we're right, like we're never gonna get to the bottom of it?
I think what it would take is people to actually sit down and have a conversation. And that
Yeah.
in this climate and day and age, I mean, we can't get the right and left to talk to each other at all right now. So it's hard to have that conversation with somebody that's not willing to listen. You know,
Yeah.
I live in California. I live in a very, very conservative area, but I have neighbors that are complete liberals, and we can sit and talk about it all day long because maybe it's a respect thing. They know who I am. They know me. So they'll have that conversation. Well, why do you do that? Well, I do that because of this. You know, I hunt deer. This is what I do with the deer. You know, from start to finish, I have my hands on that deer from the finding it to the scouting it, you know, to the harvesting or killing of the animal, and all the way down to the breaking it down, hanging it in the meat locker, and then I process the deer myself. I don't take it to a meat shop. I process it myself. So explaining that process helps. Being open-minded and not being an asshole, you know, being polite and respectful of their opinion and listen to their opinion, but then have legitimate facts to be able to say, well, you know, that's not exactly true. You know, you can this, and this is why that's not true. Maybe that helps. Again, the conversations I've had with people, sorry, it starts with just being polite. You know, I've been on hiking trails where, yeah, they see my camouflage backpack and they give me a snarl. Well, hey, man, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
What's the worst
Yeah.
that can happen? I mean, the worst that can happen is you can tell me to go kick rocks and you're going to keep walking the other way down the trail. That's fine. No sweat off my back, but I tried. It's not like I'm going to, I mean, if they want to throw down, it's going to get Western, but I'm not in there for that.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe like, you know, every hunter in the United States should just like go to one of these, you know, protests or anti things, or just people find somebody that's like anti hunting and sit down and have a conversation with them and see if they'll go in the woods with them one time. Maybe we'll get to some kind of agreement. But I think it's like you said, like it's so hard when you don't have the higher up people kind of having the conversations. The people below tend to listen to those higher up and they just kind of follow along. And if the higher up ones don't sit down and have that conversation, we'll never get there. So you spent some time on some public land in California, Arizona, and Colorado. You've got to have some crazy or wild stories from hunting public land. You ever see anything crazy? You ever run across any weed grows? I see that's like a big thing in California.
Yeah. I ran across one. Shoot, it's been about 15 years ago, mid 2000s. I ran across a weed grow. Fortunately, nobody was there. If they were hidden really well. And as soon as I walked into it, I walked right out. I didn't waste any time in there. They've had too many issues with the caretakers, popping shots off, and to me, it wasn't worth it. I was on national forest land, so when I got out there, I called the game warden, let the game warden know, and whatever the game warden took that information, did with it, that's up to them. I'm assuming they busted it, but because I was pretty deep up a canyon when I found it. So, and then there's been a lot of books written, a lot of people have done a lot of the game wardens here in California. They've got a full on department that just busts weed grows.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of those around here. Other than that, I mean, no, I haven't had too many crazy experiences. Colorado was interesting. Halfway through the archery season when we were there, the muzzleloader season opened. So the mountains were full of an orange army with muzzleloaders popping off shots every which way but Sunday. And that was a little stressful because I'm bow hunting. I didn't have nothing to shoot back with.
Yeah.
So my wife, we kept our heads low for a week while we were bow hunting during muzzleloader season. That got pretty Western. But I haven't really had too many run-ins, hadn't had any crazy people. Arizona was really cool. I really liked Arizona. Everybody in Arizona that I've been around has been awesome, and including the people I met in Colorado. The people in Colorado were cool too. But California, once hunting season starts, the mountains pretty much clear out. You might get occasional dirt bike riders riding the mountain trails, the Forestry Service trails, but they know when season starts too, so they pretty much stay out of there because they're I don't know if they're being considered or if they're scared, but I haven't ever really run into too many problems in California, believe it or not.
Yeah, it's funny. All the guys that I talk to that are from more Western states, as I like to think they're more wide open, never have any issues on public land. It's always the guys like East and Midwesty where, piece of public land might be like, 50 acres or something, where it's really congested with a lot of people. That's where I always seem to hear all the wild stories from, and it just must be because everybody's so close. There's
Yeah.
fights over who shot the deer and all that kind of stuff. You guys probably don't have that issue out there because you have so much more room to roam, which is nice. I'm jealous of.
We had one issue. Saying that actually reminded me of an issue my wife and I had. Opening day of rifle season in 2013, 2012, 2013. My wife and I, we shot a double. She shot her buck, and we were across the canyon, and we went down the mountain, went back up the next canyon on the other side. When we got to her deer, a group of gentlemen came off the top of the mountain, and they did accuse us of that we were taking their deer, which they weren't anywhere near around where we were when she shot that deer. And they sat there, 20 yards off, and watched my wife gut her deer, and just to get it out of there. And yeah, I mean, I had to practically stand there with a rifle in my hand, like, hey man, time to move on. There's no reason for you to be standing here right now. You're making this uncomfortable. It's better if you just get on out of here. And that's the only, but that was, like I said, that was almost 10 years ago. But I haven't had any problems with that since. I usually don't hunt opening weekend of rifle season up here anymore because after it's too congested. There's too many people.
Yeah.
Now we can get off in the canyons and we can get away from the roads and it's not so bad. But even now, my little honey holes are not honey holes anymore. So I've had to kind of move and regroup and hunt different areas because it just got overpopulated. Once one person found out about it, they told 30 other people, and then that turned into 90 people, and that turned into 180 people. And for too long, there's way too many people, and even on a mountain as big as the one I'm hunting. But opening weekend rifle season, after that, it's usually pretty much wide open.
Yeah, I don't know if it's this way around you or not, but like if you go into like a farm store around here in archery season, like you're gonna pick up some doe urine or like I don't know, you need some kind of hunting equipment or whatever. You go in there and like you have your camo on or whatever. Nobody's thinking about deer season in September or October around here. But like the Friday before opening season comes in on like a Saturday, you can like go in there and you can just see like the hundreds of people buying stuff that are like, those maybe they hunt just opening weekend or whatever. And sometimes you got to wonder about some of those characters, man. You're thinking like, God, that guy's going to be in the woods probably next to me tomorrow. Like, I don't know, not too sure about it with the gun. So yeah, I mean,
yeah,
it kind of gun season, it's a totally different world, especially during opening weekend. I find that interesting that it's not only around here that it's out that way, and probably every way, people that are not as maybe used to being in the woods and all that stuff kind of going out, haven't sharpened up their skills in a whole year, get kind of hairy.
Yeah, they pick up the rifle the day before season and they shoot it once, say, yep, still on, and then that's part of the reason too why I started bow hunting more. I prefer to bow hunt. Rifle season's fun. Our tags where we're at here, it's a general season tag, so we can use it during the dedicated archery season or the rifle season. So if I don't fill my tag during archery season, I just take a rifle out there and it's fine. But I tend to see more deer during bow season. And here they're still in velvet. Our archery season starts usually the second weekend of August and runs for like 5 weeks. Yeah. And then it runs for about 4 or 5 weeks. And then there's a couple week break, and then rifle season starts. The rifle season usually starts, the last week of September, and it runs through the end of October, or usually right up to Halloween. So where I'm at locally. So yeah, it's still warm, but everything's still in velvet, and they're still in the summer feeding patterns. They haven't been bumped enough that if you can locate them, scouting beforehand, typically that first week of bow season, they're still in the general area. So I've been pretty successful with that here the last, 10 years, 12. I killed my first deer in 2009. So yeah, about the last, 12, 13 years, it's really been working out for me.
Yeah, you guys are about a month ahead of us. Like October around my area is like a lot of people around here won't hunt until Halloween. Like Halloween's like really when the pre-rut is kind of like getting hot and heavy here. So it's interesting that you guys are like archery hunting in August. I can't even imagine. I squirrel hunt in August, and by 10 a.m. like I'm out of the woods, or I'm going to be like drenched in sweat. It's so hot here, but
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming on the show. Can you kind of tell everybody where they can connect with you, or if they want to connect with Next Ridge Apparel and check out you guys' line of clothing and different stuff you guys have?
Yeah, man. Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's been a lot of fun. I appreciate it. Next Ridge Apparel. So all of our handles are the same. We're Next Ridge Apparel on Facebook. We're at Next Ridge Apparel on Instagram, and then nextridgeapparel.com is our website. You can order everything through the website, and now I've shipped stuff all over the world, so it's pretty cool. Like we took it over in September, and it's been a lot of fun. I mainly took Next Ridge over because I love the brand. I love what the brand stood for. Next Ridge for Sean and Jen and for us too is always, it was more of a just get there. You always want to go to that next ridge, and that's what it was about. It was about not quitting. It's about getting there, and that's one of the slogans is get there. So it was more of a lifestyle than anything, and I wanted to keep that going. So that's why we are now the owners of Next Ridge. So
cool, man.
Well, that's what it's about.
You guys listening, make sure you guys check out their stuff. I've looked at your website a little bit, and I have to get me a hat or something so I can repping that stuff, man. I'm definitely appreciate you coming on, and I'll catch up with you soon, man.
Perfect, man. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yep. Thank you. We'll see ya. Hey, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Hunt the Wild podcast. If you enjoyed the show and it's brought you some sort of value, I'd love if you could give me a rating and a review. Just a few seconds of your time can help me better understand the type of content you all enjoy, and it would mean the world to me to hear from all of you.